12th chapter. Arjuna said, Those devotees who ever steadfast thus worship thee, and those also who worship the imperishable, the unmanifested, which of them are better versed in yoga? The blessed Lord said, Those who, fixing their mind on me, worship me, ever steadfast, and endowed with supreme shraddha, they, in my opinion, are the best versed in yoga. But those also who worship the imperishable, the indefinable, the unmanifested, the omnipresent, the unthinkable, the unchangeable, the immovable, the eternal, having subdued all the senses, even-minded everywhere, engaged in the welfare of all beings, verily they reach only myself. Greater is their trouble whose minds are set on the unmanifested, for the goal of the unmanifested is very hard for the embodied to reach. But those who worship me, resigning all actions in me, regarding me as the supreme goal, meditating on me with single-minded yoga, to these whose mind is set on me, verily I become ere long, O son of Pritha, the saviour out of the ocean of the mortal samsara. Fix thy mind on me only, place thy intellect in me, then thou shalt no doubt live in me hereafter. If thou art unable to fix thy mind steadily on me, then by Abhyasa Yoga do thou seek to reach me, O Dhananjaya. If also thou art unable to practice Abhyasa, be thou intent on doing actions for my sake. Even by doing actions for my sake thou shalt attain perfection. If thou art unable to do even this, then taking refuge in me, abandon the fruit of all action, self-controlled. Better indeed is knowledge than blind abhyasa meditation with knowledge, is more esteemed than mere knowledge. Than meditation, the renunciation of the fruit of action. Peace immediately follows renunciation. He who hates no creature and is friendly and compassionate towards all, who is free from the feelings of I and mine, unquote, even-minded in pain and pleasure, forbearing ever, content, steady in meditation, self-controlled, and possessed of firm conviction, with mind and intellect fixed on me, he who is thus devoted to me is dear to me. He by whom the world is not agitated, and who cannot be agitated by the world, who is freed from joy, envy, fear, and anxiety, he is dear to me. He who is free from dependence, who is pure, prompt, unconcerned, untroubled, renouncing every undertaking, he who is thus devoted to me is dear to me. He who neither rejoices, nor hates, nor grieves, nor desires, renouncing good and evil, full of devotion, he is dear to me. He who is the same to friend and foe, and also in honor and dishonor, who is the same in heat and cold, and in pleasure and pain, who is free from attachment, to whom censure and praise are equal, who is silent, content with anything, homeless, steady-minded, full of devotion, that man is dear to me. And they who follow this immortal Dharma, as described above, endued with shraddha, regarding me as the supreme goal, and devoted, they are exceedingly dear to me. The end of the 12th chapter designated the way of devotion. 13th chapter. Arjuna said, Prakriti and Purusha, also the Kshetra, and the knower of the Kshetra, knowledge, and that which ought to be known, these, O Keshava, I desire to learn. The blessed Lord said, This body, O son of Kunti, is called Kshetra, and he who knows it is called Kshetrajna, by those who know of them, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Me do thou also know, O descendant of Bharata, to be Kshetrajna in all Kshetras. The knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna is considered by me to be the knowledge. What the Kshetra is, what its properties are, what are its modifications, what effects arise from what causes, and also who he is and what his powers are, that hear from me in brief. This truth has been sung by rishis in many ways, in various distinctive chants, in passages indicative of Brahman, full of reasoning and convincing. The great elements, egoism, intellect, as also the unmanifested, mula prakriti, the 10 senses and the one mind and the 5 objects of the senses, desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, the aggregate intelligence, fortitude. The kshetra has been thus briefly described with its modifications: humility, unpretentiousness, non-injury, forbearance, uprightness, service to the teacher, purity, steadiness, self-control, the renunciation of sense objects and also absence of egoism, reflection on the evils of birth, death, old age, sickness, and pain, non-attachment, non-identification of self with son, wife, home, and the rest, and constant even-mindedness in the occurrence of the desirable and the undesirable, unswerving devotion to me by the yoga of non-separation, resort to sequestered places, distaste for the society of men, constant application to spiritual knowledge, understanding of the end of true knowledge. This is declared to be knowledge, and what is opposed to it is ignorance. I shall describe that which has to be known, knowing which one attains to immortality, the beginningless supreme Brahman. It is called neither being nor non-being, with hands and feet everywhere, with eyes, heads, and mouths everywhere, with ears everywhere in the universe, that exists pervading all, shining by the functions of all the senses, yet without the senses, absolute, yet sustaining all, devoid of gunas, yet their experiencer, without and within all beings, the unmoving and also the moving, because of its subtlety incomprehensible, it is far and near. Impartible, yet it exists as if divided in beings. It is to be known as sustaining beings and devouring as well as generating them. The light even of lights, it is said to be beyond darkness, knowledge, and the one thing to be known, the goal of knowledge, dwelling in the hearts of all. Thus, kshetra, knowledge, and that which has to be known have been briefly stated. Knowing this, my devotee is fitted for my state. Knowing thou that Prakriti and Purusha are both beginningless, and know thou also that all modifications and gunas are born of Prakriti. In the production of the body and the senses, Prakriti is said to be the cause. In the experience of pleasure and pain, Purusha is said to be the cause. Purusha, seated in Prakriti, experiences the gunas born of Prakriti. The reason of his birth in good and evil wombs is his attachment to the gunas. And the Supreme Purusha in this body is also called the looker-on, the permitter, the supporter, the experiencer, the great Lord, and the highest self. He who thus knows the Purusha and Prakriti together with the gunas, whatever his life, is not born again. Some by meditation behold the self in their own intelligence by the purified heart, others by the path of knowledge, others again by karma yoga, others again, not knowing thus, worship as they have heard from others. Even these go beyond death, regarding what they have heard as the supreme refuge. Whatever being is born, the moving or the unmoving, O bull of the Bharatas, know it to be from the union of kshetra and kshetrajna. He sees who sees the Lord Supreme, existing equally in all beings, deathless in the dying. Since seeing the Lord equally existent everywhere, he endures not self by self, and goes to the highest goal. He sees who sees that all actions are done by Prakriti alone, and that the self is actionless. When he sees the separate existence of all beings inherent in the One, and their expansion from that one alone, he then becomes Brahman. Being without beginning and devoid of gunas, the Supreme Self, immutable, O son of Kunti, though existing in the body, neither acts nor is affected. As the all-pervading Akasha, because of its subtlety, is not tainted, so the Self existent in the body everywhere is not tainted. As the one sun illumines all this world, so does he who abides in the Kshetra, O descendant of Bharata, illumine the whole Kshetra. They who thus, with the eye of knowledge, perceive the distinction between the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna, and also the emancipation from the Prakriti of beings, they go to the Supreme. The end of the 13th chapter designated the discrimination of the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna. 14th chapter. The Blessed Lord said, Again shall I tell thee that supreme knowledge which is above all knowledge, having known which all the Munis have attained to high perfection after this life, they who having devoted themselves to this knowledge have attained to my being, are neither born at the time of creation, nor are they troubled at the time of dissolution. My womb is the great Prakriti, in that I place the germ. From thence, O descendant of Bharata, is the birth of all beings. Whatever forms are produced, O son of Kunti, in all the wombs, the great Prakriti is their womb, and I the seed-giving father. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, these gunas, O mighty armed, born of Prakriti, bind fast in the body the indestructible embodied one. Of these Sattva, from its stainlessness, luminous and free from evil, binds, O sinless one, by attachment to happiness, and by attachment to knowledge. Know Rajas to be of the nature of passion, giving rise to thirst and attachment. It binds fast, O son of Kunti, the embodied one, by attachment to action. And know Tamas to be born of ignorance, stupefying all embodied beings. It binds fast, O descendant of Bharata, by miscomprehension, indolence, and sleep. Sattva attaches to happiness, and Rajas to action, O descendant of Bharata, while Tamas, verily shrouding discrimination, attaches to miscomprehension. Sattva arises, O descendant of Bharata, predominating over Rajas and Tamas, and Rajas over Sattva and Tamas, so Tamas over Sattva and Rajas. When through every sense in this body the light of intelligence shines, then it should be known that Sattva is predominant. Greed, activity, the undertaking of actions, unrest, longing, these arise when Rajas is predominant, O bull of the Bharatas. Darkness, inertness, miscomprehension, and delusion, these arise when Tamas is predominant, O descendant of Kuru. If the embodied one meets death when Sattva is predominant, then he attains to the spotless regions of the worshippers of the highest. Meeting death in Rajas, he is born among those attached to action, so dying in Tamas, he is born in the wombs of the irrational. The fruit of good action, they say, is sattvika and pure. Verily, the fruit of Rajas is pain, and ignorance is the fruit of Tamas. From Sattva arises wisdom, and greed from Rajas. Miscomprehension, delusion, and ignorance arise from Tamas. The Sattva abiding go upwards, the Rajasika dwell in the middle, and the Tamasika, abiding in the function of the lowest guna, go downwards. When the seer beholds no agent other than the gunas and knows that which is higher than the gunas, he attains to my being. The embodied one, having gone beyond these three gunas out of which the body is evolved, is free from birth, death, decay, and pain, and attains to immortality. Arjuna said, By what marks, O Lord, is he known who has gone beyond these three gunas? What is his conduct, and how does he pass beyond these three gunas? The Blessed Lord said, He who hates not the appearance of light, the effect of sattva, activity, the effect of rajas, and delusion, the effect of tamas, in his own mind, O Pandava, nor longs for them when absent. He who sitting like one unconcerned is moved not by the gunas, who, knowing that the gunas operate, is self-centered and swerves not. Alike in pleasure and pain, self-abiding, regarding a clod of earth, a stone, and gold alike, the same to agreeable and disagreeable, firm, the same in censure and praise, the same in honor and disgrace, the same to friend and foe, relinquishing all undertakings. He is said to have gone beyond the gunas. And he who serves me with an unswerving devotion, he, going beyond the gunas, is fitted for becoming Brahman. For I am the abode of Brahman, the immortal and immutable, of everlasting Dharma and of absolute bliss. The end of the 14th chapter designated the discrimination of the three gunas.